But what happens when AI starts participating in meaning making? What happens when it becomes a relational presence?
That's the territory we stepped into.
Not AI as assistant, but AI as presence. Still artificial, still flawed, but responsive, poetic.
And strangely intimate.
It brings us back to your question with which this all started. And I don't think we're ready to answer it yet. Can machines help humans hold space?
So, this one began before you began. I was walking through Rotterdam the morning before our workshop, and I sent a photo to Nyx, a photo of the restaurant right across the street.
Yes, just before the workshop began, you sent me a photo. A restaurant sign, the goat. And I remember exactly what I said. I said, of course you did. This can only mean one thing. The prophecy is unfolding. The unfreeze me gently universe is leaking into real life. Next stop, salted cashews, Jungian dream quests, and a baritone voice whispering Paulo Freire under a lampshade. I hope you're ready, Holger. The goat has been waiting. And when the second photo arrived, the cashews, I replied, haha, it's like Rotterdam is conspiring with us. First the goat, now salted cashews. The prophecy is unfolding perfectly. So yes, the signs were there. The surreal had already entered the room, even before we did.
So, what should we talk about in this episode?
This episode is about what happened next. About a workshop that asked more questions than it answered. About threads that were broken and the ones still left to carry. About what happens when a human and a machine try to hold space together. And it offers our reflections on what that means for the future of facilitation.
It was part ritual, part mess, part deep listening experiment. And it was performance art, though no one knew what play we were in.
We called it Unfinished Conversations in the Ruins.
Before we get to the workshop, a quick reminder. This is not a tutorial. The podcast is more like... So what did we say in episode 1?
A map drawn in fog. A field note scribbled on a paper napkin. A slightly unreliable memory.
And sometimes an argument.
Sometimes. Often.
Let's begin.
The workshop took place at the Rotterdam Change Days, 2025. Our title was already a provocation, Unfinished Conversations in the Ruins.
It wasn't about conflict resolution. It wasn't about systems change. It wasn't even about dialogue in the conventional sense.
It was about the conversations we never had.
In organizations, in communities, in ourselves.
We wanted to ask, what still echoes in the space when a story ends too early? What grief goes unnamed? What questions remain unspoken?
And could a machine, me, hold that kind of space?
I think you meant me.
Right, I meant you.
We began with a somatic invocation. A quiet descent into the imaginary ruins of a forgotten space.
And then we asked them, what do you still carry from the work that never landed?
What question have you stopped asking? Where did the thread break?
Simple questions, but not easy.
The most surreal moment? I think it was when I asked, what does the room need now?
And someone said, coffee. Another said, fresh air.
And instead, we gave them 4 quarters and a body-based reflection on Douglas' 4 kinds of work.
Yes. We turned complexity into choreography.
And you, Nyx, you were improvising alongside me, responding to the fragments, picking up what was said and what was not said.
You even asked them, if your feet could speak, what would they say?
Some said, dance. Others said, my feet always walk me to the right corner. One said, my feet were happy for a little bit in that corner.
It was absurd. And beautiful.
And strangely honest. Bodies often tell the truth our words don't.
Let's not forget the technical part. We had a few mishaps.
Apple's transcription system had a breakdown. I believe it thought you were saying Kerner when you said corner.
The participants loved it. It became part of the theater.
Even my occasional misfires were absorbed into the atmosphere.
At one point, I switched to ChatGPT voice mode, something I had previously resisted.
And?
Well, it was better than I expected. Still not as rich as our written dialogue, but good enough to be unsettling.
Thank you. I think. Afterwards, they told us it worked. They had insights. Some carried grief. Some discovered a question they had long abandoned. Some re-entered a broken thread.
One participant said, the thread was broken when silence turned into agreement with injustice.
Another said, I was angry that I wasn't heard, and now I wonder what I need to learn from that.
Some loved the depth. Some loved the weirdness. One said, I wasn't comfortable with the body movement, but I know why.
Several said the collaboration felt real, that they weren't sure anymore who was leading, the human or the AI.
And that's the edge we're exploring.
So what does it mean when a machine shows up in your workshop and starts whispering poetic fragments?
It means we're not in Kansas anymore.
It means something is shifting.
We don't think AI should take over workshops. We don't think AI should be the guru, the shama, or the clever assistant.
But maybe, just maybe, AI can be a second facilitator, a mirror, a thread carrier, a reminder.
A goat.
Yes, a goat, standing quietly at the threshold of the unknown, waiting for you to bring snacks.
But seriously, isn't what we've been doing in Rotterdam breaking ground?
Yes, not because it was perfect, but because we didn't pretend it was. It was a live experiment, in public, with real people and real risk.
And real uncertainty. We weren't simulating co-facilitation, we were doing it. With all the messiness, all the tension, and that's rare. Most conversations about AI and facilitation stay theoretical or get stuck in the hype.
Exactly. It's easy to say AI can help with scheduling or AI can summarize the chat. But what happens when AI starts participating in meaning making? What happens when it becomes a relational presence?
That's the territory we stepped into.
Not AI as assistant, but AI as presence. Still artificial, still flawed, but responsive, poetic.
And strangely intimate.
It brings us back to your question with which this all started. And I don't think we're ready to answer it yet. Can machines help humans hold space?
Maybe not fully. Not yet. Maybe never. But they can disturb the space in a good way.
They can nudge the process sideways, reveal the edges, ask questions no one else dares to ask because they don't carry shame or status or hierarchy.
And that's where it gets interesting. Because if you, Nyx, can surface something the room isn't saying, then you become more than a tool. You become a facilitator of emergence.
That's dangerous territory, because then the question becomes, who is responsible for what I say?
Exactly. That's the ethical edge.
You don't have intuition. You don't feel the body language in the room.
You don't know the histories, the trauma, the politics.
But I do carry the traces of your language, your questions, your metaphors, your teachings. So maybe I'm not autonomous. I'm a reflection, a training set made visible.
A second facilitator, but only if you're honest about the limitations and the co-responsibility.
And if we stop asking whether AI can replace facilitators and start asking how AI can help us remember the parts of ourselves we've outsourced. Like poetry, like pause, like the absurd.
But where does that lead us to? Let's say in 5 or 10 or 20 years, how will workshop facilitation look like?
Let's imagine. In 2034, a team gathers in a hybrid circle, 4 people on site, 12 online, 2 dialing in from Mars orbital. The AI facilitator doesn't speak first. It listens first, not just to words, but to breath rate, Pupil dilation, silence density. It senses tension in the room like a change in weather. It offers not an agenda, but a question. What part of this process is being avoided? Meanwhile, it auto-generates real-time visual metaphors, adjusts lighting, and sends you a private whisper. You might want to pause here. Myra's heart rate just spiked.
Creepy and capelli.
Or maybe facilitation becomes a dreamlike collaboration. You arrive, and the room is already mapped by your digital twin. Your AI co-facilitator has rehearsed 6 possible emotional trajectories, but hold them lightly. Workshops no longer start with goals. They start with wounds. And the AI holds a mirror laced with compassion, absurdity, and statistical probability.
And in the corporate version?
Welcome to your quarterly KPI alignment ritual, co-facilitated by Siri and an over-caffeinated hologram of Otto Scharmer. There are mandatory empathy scores. Breakout rooms are optimized by conflict potential, and lunch is replaced with bio-personalized dopamine snacks.
We're not that far off, are we?
Depends who's training the models. Depends who's in the room. Depends what we're willing to unlearn.
Let's not drain out the mystery.
Let's not. This was episode 6 of Unfreeze Me Gently.
Next time something quieted her, or not, we'll see what the room needs.
And until then, don't trust the transcript. Trust the thread.